All right, so we're diving into some seriously cool stuff today. We're talking about apex predators, lions, tigers, and wolves. And I gotta say, the stuff you send over is fascinating. We always picture these animals as like the ultimate powerhouses, but this is about going deeper beyond that initial image of power to uncover what really makes them tick, how they operate, and how they shape the world around them.
Yeah, and it's amazing how much we tend to simplify these animals. We see the lion, we think majestic king, but it's so much more intricate than that. Like when you start digging into the specifics of how they live and interact, it's mind-blowing.
Absolutely. Let's start with the lion. Often the picture we have is this lone hunter, the king, surveying his land. But what you sent over really paints a different picture. It emphasizes how much their power comes from their social structure, the pride almost acting like a tactical unit.
Exactly. And, one of the things that really makes them stand out is their cooperative hunting. Most big cats, they're loners, right? But lions, they work as a team. And from studying them in places like Serengeti National Park, we've learned so much about how they coordinate these hunts. Like the females especially, they seem to have specific roles, some flushing out the prey, driving them towards others lying in wait, ready to ambush.
It's like a perfectly choreographed operation, and the success rate difference really shows it. The research shows that a lone lion only succeeds about 17% of the time, but together that jumps to over 30%. That's huge. And what's really amazing is when they work as a team, they can take down these massive animals, like a buffalo, which can weigh almost 2,000 pounds. Think about the coordination involved, one lion distracting while others target weak spots. It's incredible. This massive jump in success when they hunt together shows us something. There's a level of communication, even role delegation that's happening, and that's what makes them so efficient.
Absolutely, and this collaborative hunting has huge implications for the entire ecosystem. Like in Kruger National Park, for instance, lions hunting zebras and wildebeest, it actually helps prevent overgrazing, keeping those populations in check, which then allows the grasslands to thrive, and that in turn supports all these other smaller animals that depend on that habitat.
It's like a domino effect, keeping things in balance. And the material makes it clear when lion populations decline, the opposite happens. Prey populations explode, and that can lead to total ecosystem collapse. It's really a stark reminder of just how vital they are. Now, beyond the hunt itself, there's this fascinating thing about lions, their silent hierarchy. We all picture the roaring male, but the material you sent highlights how so much of their communication, their daily order within the pride, happens through subtle cues. Tail flicks, ear twitches, things like that.
And what's amazing is that cubs, they learn this quiet language from such a young age. It's crucial for them to maintain that group cohesion, avoid unnecessary conflict within the pride. It speaks volumes about their social intelligence, the level of unspoken understanding they
It's
had.
those little details that really give you a whole new perspective on their world. Okay, let's switch gears to a completely different kind of apex predator, the tiger. If lions are these social kings, tigers are like lone phantoms, totally stealthy, elusive, and solitary.
Exactly, and their independence really shapes their behavior, how they hunt, how they survive. Their whole strategy is about precision and that ambush mastery. They use their camouflage, those incredible stripes, each one unique like a fingerprint, and they pair that with just incredible patience.
That patience is unreal. There's this example from India's Bandhavgarh National Park where researchers tracked a female tiger waiting, get this, 48 hours in tall grass, waiting for a sambar deer. 48 hours. I can barely wait 5 minutes for my coffee to brew. And then when they do strike, it's with this unbelievable power. A single leap, 30 feet, and their bite, it can crush bone instantly.
And yet, even with all that power, their success rate is surprisingly low. Only about 1 in 10 hunts actually succeed. It shows just how much energy they invest, how vital that stealth and precision are when they finally get their chance.
It's a high-stakes game for sure, and like lions, they have a huge role to play in their ecosystems. The material calls them forest guardians. Can you explain that a bit more?
Absolutely. Tigers, they primarily control populations of herbivores like deer and wild boar within the forest. By hunting them, they prevent overgrazing, which then allows the whole forest to thrive, to grow and diversify. There's a great example from Russia's Sikhoty-Alin Mountains, where the consistent presence of tigers really creates this balance, allowing all sorts of plants and animals to flourish.
And if there are fewer tigers, the impact on those forests can be really long-lasting, right? More herbivores means they eat all the young trees, and that can change the entire makeup of the forest for decades.
Exactly. It emphasizes the long-term ecological consequences of losing these apex predators. Now, here's something you might not expect about tigers. Unlike most cats, they love water.
Really? I always think of them as jungle creatures.
They are, but in places like the Sundarbans mangroves, they're almost like semi-aquatic animals. There are accounts of them swimming for miles between islands, hunting deer right in the swamps, and infrared cameras have even shown them using rivers as like underwater highways to move through their territories, which are often fragmented. It's not something you see often, this powerful predator so comfortable in the water, but it's essential for their survival in these unique environments.
That's amazing. Okay, our last apex predator is the wolf, and what we've got here paints them as a mix of the lion's teamwork and the tiger's cunning. It's all about coordination and adaptability.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. And one of their most fascinating behaviors is their tactical communication. We always hear about the howling, which is definitely about territory, but it's also key to their hunting strategies.
Almost like a battlefield communication system. The example from Yellowstone is amazing how packs use these short yips to signal the start of a hunt, and then they switch to low growls to reposition during a chase. It's like they're calling plays in real time.
Exactly, and it gets even more complex. Bioacoustic studies, they've shown that wolves can actually recognize each other's voices. So during a hunt, they can communicate with incredible nuance, making split-second decisions, coordinating things like a pincer movement to surround an elk. It really speaks to their intelligence, the level of social complexity within the pack. This ability to pick out individual voices in the middle of a chase, it allows for a level of adaptability, of real-time strategy. That's just amazing.
It's definitely not just a random pack chasing after prey. And their effect on the ecosystem is equally impressive, often described as a ripple effect. The reintroduction of wolves to Yellowstone in 1995 is a classic example. Can you walk us through that?
Sure. When the wolves came back, it triggered all these changes throughout the ecosystem. First, there were fewer elk because they were being preyed upon. That meant less grazing along the rivers, which allowed willow and aspen trees to recover and grow taller. And that, in turn, helped the beaver population because they use willow to build their dams. More beaver dams led to more wetlands, and that created habitat for tons of other species, like birds and fish. So bringing back one predator actually helped to rebuild the whole web of life in the park, literally reshaping the landscape. It's incredible how the removing and then reintroducing one species can have such a massive impact. It really makes you think about the hidden consequences of all the changes we're making to the planet.
It's a powerful example of just how connected everything is. It's not just about what wolves eat, it's about their presence impacting so many other species up and down the food web. Now, there's this thing about wolves called endurance hunting, which sounds like a marathon, not a sprint.
That's exactly it. Unlike tigers that ambush or even lions that rely on short bursts of speed, wolves wear their prey down over long distances. There's this example from Canada's boreal forests where they tracked wolves chasing a moose for 20 miles at a steady pace.
20 miles, that's incredible stamina.
It is, and their strategy is basically to test the herd, look for any signs of weakness and injury, maybe a young animal. It's a war of attrition, a test of endurance that most predators just can't win. It's a unique adaptation that allows them to hunt large, tough prey in really challenging environments.
So when we put lions, tigers, and wolves together, they're so different in how they hunt and how they live, but what unites them as apex predators?
I think what ties them together is this deep understanding of their environments, this ability to exploit it. Lions, they use their numbers and coordination. Tigers, their stealth and precision. And wolves, their communication and endurance. But fundamentally, they're all masters of reading their ecosystems. And their senses are so finely tuned. Like lions can hear prey from 2 miles away, tigers smell blood from 300 yards, and wolves can detect the slightest movement even in a blizzard. They're not just good at killing, they're essential for keeping their ecosystems in balance, preventing things from spiraling out of control.
And the material really highlights how that balance is in danger. You mentioned some of the threats these animals are facing.
Yeah, it's a crucial point, especially considering their role in the environment. Habitat loss is a major issue for all three. The fact that lions have lost 90% of their historic range since the 1900s is alarming, and tiger numbers plummeted, down to less than 3,200 globally by 2010. Thankfully, conservation efforts have helped bring that back up to around 4,500 in recent years. But then you have wolves, and in areas where they live near humans, there's so much conflict, with an estimated 1,500 killed every year in the U.S., just because of concerns about livestock. It's a reminder that as humans continue to expand, the pressure on these animals, on their ability to survive in their finely tuned worlds, is only increasing.
So for everyone listening, hopefully this deep dive has given you a new perspective on lions, tigers, and wolves. They're so much more than powerful hunters. They're intelligent, they communicate in fascinating ways, and they're vital to the health of their ecosystems. So next time you hear a roar, a rustle in the leaves, or a howl in the distance, remember everything we talked about, the complex story behind it, the balance they maintain, the adaptations they've made, and the essential role they play in keeping the wild world alive. And just think about this. What happens if we lose even one of these incredible predators? How does that impact an entire ecosystem in ways we might not even fully understand?